So guys, as a recap here, the 3 winners from today's livestream giveaway are number 15, Forest Cat, who wins the limited card of Julian Borner. Number 55, Sorare, who wins the limited card of Tommy Horvat. And number 132, who was Uga, who wins the limited card of Masato Morishige. Well done indeed to the 3 winners there. Do not worry, guys, if you didn't win a card, because I am always doing giveaways. And when we go live again in the day on Sunday, if somebody redeems a giveaway time, then we will do another giveaway. So you guys will have another chance. So the only lineup that we can realistically enter is Cap 220. And this is what I entered for it before we went live for next week. And I don't think this is especially strong. I actually think we have some issues here. And then this team comes in at under £20, which is incredible. So this full stack of Kaiserslautern comes in at less than £20. It comes in at just under the cap of 240. So the L15 total cap here is 239. That's brilliant. I love the way that has worked out there. You've got a fairly decent goalkeeper here of Andreas Luth. Nice experienced veteran goalkeeper. You've got Kevin Kraus, who's just an absolute beast, who can deliver you actual goals, so attacking returns and decisive defensive returns as well. You've got Philip Clement, who's a nice playmaker in the middle of the park. Terence Boyd as their lead target man. And then their new signing of Tobias Ratschall. So this is really cheap. This is obviously in pounds. So I think when you would convert this into euros, this would probably be closer to about 22, 23 euros, right? But this is also just going off the floor price here. So you could probably get this team for 20 euros. You could probably build it for 20 euros if you picked up these players either cheap on the auction or you negotiated for them. So Alexander Sobolev is somebody that you should definitely take a hard look at. Because the Russian Premier League season is starting this weekend. Now, of course, if you picked him up, you're going to miss one game week, right? Because, you know, the game week's already finished now. It's already past the deadline for it. It is the Russian Premier League. So what you have to keep in mind is that the Russian Premier League has a long winter break. So if you do pick up any Russian Premier League players now, you can use them without any issue for, like, say, 2-3 months. But then probably when it reaches, like, say, October, November, you then need to be thinking about an exit strategy from them if you are not happy to sit on a card with no use for like 2 months, basically. The advantage of the Russian Premier League players is that there are no cards being minted for them, and there will be no cards minted for them for the foreseeable future. So you don't have to worry realistically about this type of player losing a lot of value because their supply is still really, really low. He's quite cheap in his rare as well. In his limited, he's very cheap at £13.60. Although his floor price, look at his floor price. His floor price is £36.83. So something that you probably have to contend with here is whether you can actually get him on the secondary market. Look, so 3 hours ago, somebody picked him up for £14.72, £13.20. So this here, you can see you don't want to be paying that. You do want to be seeing if you could buy him, if you were interested in him, first of all. You want to see if you could get him for, like, around this, less than £15, right? I'm a big fan of Sobolev. He's an amazing forward. He's the complete forward. Because Sobolev will score you goals with his right foot, his left foot, with his head. He also takes penalties for Spartak Moscow. He's a top player for them. He really is. And he's so consistent as well. He does have a few issues with discipline. So every now and then he will get sent off, because he's quite an aggressive player like here. But he's their best player, one of their best players for Spartak Moscow. I actually had his rare card, not last season, I think the season before, and he helped. But these are the rare players that I'm trusting, guys, for the next season. I have 22 rare players at the moment. Some of these players are nailed-on starters. Some of them are without a club, and some of them are kind of more backup options, like rotational options. So I'm just going to quickly run through the rare players that I've got, because there are quite a few here. We'll start again with the goalkeepers, I think, and then we'll work our way up to the forwards. Why can we not see any of my goalkeepers? That was weird. Okay. So these are the rare goalkeepers that I have for the new season, guys. I decided to cover myself by picking up all 3 goalkeepers that play for Sivasspor at the moment. Ali Varul has been the number 1 for the last few years at Sivasspor. Miami Yildirim has been the backup number 2. And then Emre Satilms is kind of like the backup to Miami Yildirim. Now, Miami Yildirim, funny enough, hasn't really been getting involved in preseason at all. So I'm not sure whether he is going to still be the number 2. I think Ali Varul will be the number 1 still. And I picked him up really cheap for like £164. So I'm really happy about that because I was able to get all 3 goalkeepers for like £250. There is an additional goalkeeper that I want to get from Sivasspor, but at the moment I've not been able to pick up the reserve, the young under-23 reserve goalkeeper, because everyone just wants like crazy money for him on the secondary market, and there are no auctions happening for him at the moment. So I kind of need to wait until I can pick up that 4th goalkeeper. But to be honest, he's the 4th choice, and right now I have the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd choice goalkeepers. So I have so much good cover, I think, at the moment for Sivasspor. Free tip scout. Pando gone up quite a bit. Think they'll drop when new season starts. So what will happen is that when the new season starts, the prices for the new mints of the new season cards will go up, and then the prices for the old season cards will go down. Generally speaking, that's what will happen. Now, if you're wondering why I've decided to pick up Sivasspor goalkeepers, it's a mix of a few things, really. It's the fact that I had a budget of around £250 to spend on a rare goalkeeper, and I had the choice between picking up just 1 goalkeeper for around £250 or picking up 3 goalkeepers for £250 and then stacking with those goalkeepers in the same team, which then means that if I have an issue with one of my goalkeepers, I can just immediately switch to the 2nd goalkeeper. And then if there's an issue with the 2nd choice goalkeeper, I can then switch to the backup again. So I have cover here that in theory means that I shouldn't have a DNP from my goalkeepers for this season because I have 3 goalkeepers. And one of the big lessons that I learned when I joined Sorare and when I started to build my first ever rare team was that I didn't really have enough of a budget to be able to afford like several starting goalkeepers, right? Because back when I started 2 years ago, the rare goalkeepers were insanely expensive. Like rare goalkeepers used to be like over £1,000, even for like an average goalkeeper. They used to be £1,000+ and more. That's a hell of a lot, right? To spend on a rare goalkeeper, and we're not even talking about somebody who's like a superstar. And so I was only really able to kind of justify and afford 1 goalkeeper. But the problem with that strategy is that if you put a lot of money on 1 player, what happens if that 1 player is then injured for like the whole season? Or what happens if that player then retires? Or what happens if that player, then gets dropped and is no longer the starting player for the team? And especially for goalkeepers, where there is only 1 position in the team for a goalkeeper, it means that you're putting a hell of a lot of risk on 1 player, on 1 card. And I just didn't want to do that. I actually wanted to spread the risk by spreading the cost over 3 goalkeepers. And I'm pretty happy with that. So these are going to be our goalkeepers for the start of the next season. And we have to hope that Sivasspor don't buy any more goalkeepers and that actually they just keep the faith with the players that they have there. If they went out and bought a new goalkeeper and that new goalkeeper is then going to be the number 1, then it kind of undoes this strategy of like basically buying up all the goalkeepers from a team. Because then you have to then buy that new goalkeeper. And if that new goalkeeper is then going to be the number 1, then it means that we're going to have to go out and spend probably the same value as all 3 just to then buy the starting goalkeeper. So you can never get it 100% right. But I think this is a strategy that I'm more comfortable with rather than buying just 1 player, 1 goalkeeper, not having enough of a backup, and basically putting all our eggs in one basket on that one goalkeeper. Defender-wise, we have a total of 7 defenders for the new season, the new European season. I have picked up an additional 2 over the last few days, and those 2 are Samba Camara and Danilo Sorare. So Samba I picked up because I don't think that Samba is necessarily going to be the main starting defender, because he hasn't been historically for Sivasspor. But I checked the last lineup for Sivasspor in their last friendly, and from what I could gauge from the lineup from that, they were basically playing what looks like their first team for the new season, and Samba was in the starting lineup. Now, we've obviously got 3 Sivasspor goalkeepers, and I wanted to have the option to have a defensive stack, because that defensive stack could be super powerful for you on the one game week where they all really explode together. I just didn't want to go too hard on a Sivasspor defender, because I don't think they have very good defenders, actually, and I don't want to be spending a lot of money on poor defenders. So Samba, for me, was one that I think probably has a chance now to establish himself as the starter next season. And if anything, if we're going by the lineup as well that they put out for the last friendly that they done, then hopefully that will be the case. If not, then he only cost about £5 or £4 anyway. And it just means that he's a nice cheap backup option for us. And if he does get a run in the team, we can then switch to him, and we can then run a bit of a stack defensively with our Sivasspor goalkeepers. Sorry, FTS, do you still have the build it like Barca open in a tab? Luckily we do. There you go. Take the screenshot. There it is there. Usually we close it down, but yeah, luckily enough for you, RSK Returns, we've still got it up. I'll take a screenshot of that as well, actually, because I quite like that team. All good, man. If you decide to build that, then do let me know. Let me know if you do build that. Hello to FBL Thinker as well. I didn't realise you jumped in the chat. Hello, FBL Thinker. He says, managed to finish 118th in Academy with Monero players in 2 DNP. So a good $5. Oh my God. That's a great win. Well done indeed. I mean, that was the benefit, wasn't it, with the midweek, is that there was like literally so few games that were happening. And there were so few games of players that actually had cards in the game as well in Sorare, that it meant that you could probably get away with having a few players at DMP or absolutely bombed on you, and you could then still get in the rewards. Well done to FBL Thinker for that, man. Love to hear stuff like that. Our other defenders that we have here, we've got some sure cases here, and we've also got some kind of like question marks here. So Danilo is a fantastic defender. His scoring is super high. His AA is amazing. He does loads of tackles per game, and that's what I really like about defenders. That's what I want from my defenders anyway. I want defenders that actually defend, because they can earn a lot of points from making a lot of tackles and winning a lot of duels, and so Danilo kind of fits into that. I don't like the team Bochum that he's playing for, but I do like the scoring that he's able to throw up for Bochum. And he only cost me £12.93. So most of my building for the new season has revolved around trying to bring in players that offer insanely good scoring versus their price. And for £12.93, we get a rare defender that's going to be playing quite a bit, that's also going to be hitting some highs as well, some big highs, as in scores of 70, 80 points or more. So Danilo comes in here. He's probably our only champion Europe player that we have, so he doesn't quite fit into the whole gallery that I'm doing here, like the whole build, but I just also couldn't ignore the fact that he's so good, and he's so good for his price. So maybe in the future we'll look at building a champion Europe team, and he can be the starting base, but I think at the moment that's not the priority. The priority was just trying to bring in players that are just insanely good value, and he definitely fits that bill. Konstantinos Lafais is somebody that is playing for Standard Liège right now, but there's a lot of transfer rumours that he is maybe going to be moving back to Greece. So I picked him up because, again, I like his price point of £11, and I also really like the scoring that he offers because he's good at delivering like really strong AA, also the possibility of attacking returns. But for a Cap 240 team, he's perfect, but there's a bit of a risk with him because he could move to a league that's not covered. And so if that happens, then it means that we're going to have a player that we can still use for international games because he is actually an international player, which is another reason why I picked him up, because for £11, you get a starter for their club at the moment, you get somebody that can deliver you scoring that will help you to threshold, and you get somebody that can also score points for you in international games as well. So it's really good utility for like £11, but it does come with that risk that, you know, before the season starts, he could end up transferring to a club that's not covered. So I was happy to take that risk for £11. And if he does get transferred to a club that's not covered, we still have a player that we can use for the international games. And obviously the Euro qualifiers are happening again in a few months' time in September. So I could maybe use him in a game week then. Luka Hugebar, he's our main defender in this rare rebuild for next season. He's the main starter for Istra. He's a young player still at 23. You can see here, he costs us the most. So he's our most expensive defender in this rebuild. He cost me £35.74. But to be honest with you, I really was happy to do that because I'm not expecting to exit out of Luka anytime soon. This is a long-term investment. He's only 24, and I like the team he's playing for. I like his level of scoring. His playing time's great. So this guy here, Luka, is going to be our main defender in Cap 240 every single game week, basically. Every single game week. His AA is good. His reliability is great. It's exactly what we need. And when the bonuses are added back into Cap 240, he will massively be able to help us get to the threshold point of 300 points, which is going to be. We also got Papi, and we have Florent Hadejanai. Now, Papi plays for Gaziantep. There's a bit of uncertainty about whether he's going to be remaining there or if he's going to be joining a new team, or a club that's not covered in Sorare. For £11, I was happy to take that risk on him. So very similar level of risk that I'm taking with Konstantinos, where I like the level of scoring that you get from Papi. He's going to help me massively to hit threshold if he stays for Gaziantep. And because he can hit some massive scores, really, some huge scores. And for £11, it's so good, versus what he can return for you, that I just couldn't pass up Papi. I had him in the limited. If he ends up moving to, say, Qatar or the Saudi Arabian League, then that's going to be a shame, right? But that's why I picked him up for £11, because I can be okay with losing £11. I can't be okay with losing, say, £100 on a player that moves to the Saudi Arabian League. For this price point, it's worth the risk because the upside is huge. Florent Hadejanai, by the way, has still not found a new club, as far as I know. There are a few teams that are interested in him. One of the teams that's interested in him is Panathinaikos, I believe. Yeah, he's still without a club. If he moved to Panathinaikos, then that would be a bit of a disaster, really, because they are not covered in the game. He is an international for the Kosovan national team. And again, I've had him. He's not been somebody that I have... I had him before, and I wanted to try and bring him back again. The last time that I bought Florent Hadejanai, he cost me £117. So I picked him up this time for £17.99. And I had to pick him back up again. Now, again, there's a bit of a risk with him, but if he ends up joining a team in a Challenger Europe team, then he should be able to score really well for us. And again, he kind of gives me that route where I can potentially play him in a midweek for the international games alongside Konstantinos Lafais. Have you seen Mavidi has gone to Leicester? No, I haven't. That's news to me. That is news to me. Guys, any French speaker here? I don't get, what is this team? UNFP. I was checking Lucas Maguiron and moved there, apparently. Unfortunately, I don't speak French, man. If there is somebody here who speaks French, then do feel free to help out Twisted Fortune. We've also got Dario Dumic as well, who we picked up a long time ago now. We picked him up for £3.81 because why not, right? £3.81, you basically can't really lose money. I think he's actually cheaper than £3.81, which is a little bit frustrating. So I felt like he was not going to get cheaper than £3.81. His average is £2.47. His list price right now is £3.84. And look, 4 days ago, he was bought for £2.47, and then 6 days ago for £1.48. Now, I think I'm still waiting to hear where he is going to be playing. I mean, look, he's got him still at Sandhausen. I don't think he's left, hasn't he, Sandhausen? So we are expecting him to get a new club. We just don't know where that new club is going to be. Because if you type it here on Transfermarkt, he's without a club at the moment. So he could very well be moving to a club that's not covered. And then if he is, then so be it. We then can't use him for next season. But then he's only cost us £3.81. So it's not a huge deal if we can't use this card next season. So at the moment, looking at our defenders that we can use next season, our guaranteed kind of reliable options here are Luka Hugebar and Danilo Sorare. And then a couple of these other guys are either backups or potentially they could be on the move. So we have enough players here that means that if anything happens, if we end up losing some utility from one of these defenders, then we still have enough, which means that we're playing the numbers game, basically. We're playing the numbers game. We picked up all these defenders really cheap. One of these, or maybe two of these, might end up not being covered, but then the rest should be covered. And if they are covered, they should be able to deliver some great scoring for us in the game that will help us to hit threshold in cap 240, and also maybe to hit some rewards in cap 220 as well. Because the one thing that you can see, guys, is that pretty much every single player here has a low L15. We have 42 for Camara, we have 43 for Danilo, 45 for Lafayette, 47 for Papi, 39 for Florent, 43 for Dario. And that's very deliberate. The only one that we have the only player that we have a significantly high L15 in is Luka, because we are definitely going to be playing him all the time in cap 240 and not cap 220. This is our best chance, this defender, to helping us hit threshold on a regular basis. So those are our defenders that we are running with for this upcoming season, guys. Let me show you my midfielders as well that we have. We have a nice mix of midfielders here, and our midfielders are really young. In fact, all of our midfielders are pretty much around the same age range. Do you think it's worth to still buy 2022-23 collections or wait for the 2024 ones? I think it is worth it, yeah. I think it is worth it. Because the new season collections are going to be mad expensive. Mad expensive. And if you can collect and build a collection of the current season ones anyway, that 5%, if you can get it to 5%, that collection bonus is going to be huge. So a collection bonus like this season or a collection bonus next season is still going to give you that collection bonus, right? So these are our midfielders that we're running with for next season, guys. We've got a nice mix here. We have Lyndon Silahi. We have Mihail Zapa, who's an absolute god for us, really, in our Luton to Legend save. We've got Maxi Thalhammer, who was at Regensburg but has since joined Osnabrück, who are the newly promoted team in the 2 Bundesliga. So he's going to be a starter next season, which is great. We've got Luke Browers, Jamie Jacobs, Robin Mollon, and Cameron McGeehan. So the one thing that I would say about our midfielders at the moment is that I like every single player that we have here. Even Jamie Jacobs. I actually kind of like Jamie Jacobs, funny enough, even though he kind of scores not great in the game. But if he joins a club that is covered in Sorare, he could have more success at that new club. The only big thing here with our midfielders is that this is probably the one area in my rare rebuild that is way more uncertain than the other areas in our team. And the reason I say that is that Cameron McGeehan is a free agent. He's not joined a new club yet, so he could technically be uncovered next season. Robin Mollon is exactly the same. He's a free agent, he could be uncovered next season. Jamie Jacobs is a free agent. He could be uncovered next season too. Luke Brouwers is still at Utrecht. There was a lot of talk about him making a loan move or potentially a permanent move to Fortuna, but I don't think that's really materialized. And I think that he is actually happy to stay at Utrecht and try and fight for his place, from what I understood from the research I'd done. Now, I love this guy. I think Luke Brouwers is great, but he has not had a great first year at Utrecht. But they paid quite a lot of money for him. They put him on a long-term contract, and they do believe in him. We just have to hope that if he does stay at Utrecht for this season, that he is given more opportunities to show the actual quality that he has. Because before he joined Utrecht, he was brilliant when he was playing for Go Ahead Eagles. But he's just struggled so far at Utrecht. So I like him. I'm going to be really interested to see how he does this season. And he's not somebody that I'll be looking to play as a starter in every single game week. But if he starts to come through and massively prove that he is a top quality player, and he can perform at Utrecht, then his scoring has the potential to really improve from what it has been over the last year. I picked him up for £13. I think that is a bargain. And this is the type of player that I picked up because I'm happy to sit on him for years and years and years and not even switch him out. So really cool. Maxi Thalhammer. So Maxi Thalhammer is a fantastic player. He's just joined Osnabrück. So Osnabrück is going to be probably one of those teams in the 2 Bundesliga this season that is going to struggle, because even though they have made a lot of reinforcements and signings, it's a newly promoted team, and a newly promoted team will often tend to struggle, right? Now, Osnabrück, they have been used to playing in the 2 Bundesliga before, so it's not like it's new territory for them, but they have all the new signings as well that they have to try and gel together in the team. I like this guy a lot. I think the great thing with Thalhammer is that he kind of showed last season that even if he's playing for a really poor team, he can still throw up some amazing scores to help you hit the threshold. And so that's why I picked him up, because if he could deliver great scores at Regensburg, who ended up getting relegated, then he should still be able to produce some really good scores from the way he plays for another kind of weaker team in the 2 Bundesliga. He only cost me £12.81, which I think is an absolute bargain. And he's 24 years old still. So great player, good one to keep for the future. He's a defensive midfielder, so I'm not expecting like decisives or anything from him. He's somebody that's going to help us to hit threshold just from his AA alone. Then we have our 2 most expensive pickups in the midfield slot here. We have Mihail Zapar, who costs us £37.49, and he's the captain of Osijek. And we also have Lyndon Salahi, who costs us about £35. Now, these 2 players have been the main starters for the teams, and I think Lyndon Salahi is still going to be this season. There's a little bit of an uncertainty about if he's going to stay here for the whole of this season, because there are some clubs interested in him. But he's also a young player. He delivers some great scoring to help you to cap 240. He's also an international, so he plays for the Albanian national team, actually. He's got a few caps there. So again, it kind of gives me a route where I can play a midfielder in a midweek that's maybe getting involved in the Albanian national team, so any of the international games, right? So he kind of gives us that route there with that extra utility. Mihail Zapar, at the moment, is probably one of our best midfielders in this team, but Mihail Zapar is at the moment not playing for Osijek because there is a, I think it's Hajduk, so Hajduk Split are currently interested in picking him up. And so he's kind of under a potential transfer right now. And I don't know what's going to happen there, but I've picked him up because I love this guy. I think he's a great talent. I think if he does go to Hajduk and he ends up becoming a starter there, it could just take his scoring to the next level, because he's then playing for a far superior team than Osijek. And he's only 24 years old. He's one of the brightest prospects, actually, in the Croatian league. He's a very highly rated talent. So if he doesn't play a lot this season, because he's at Osijek and they are still trying to get a transfer done for him, then that's going to be a shame. If he doesn't get a transfer done where he then moves to Hajduk and he ends up staying at Osijek for the season, then he will be playing for them all season because he is the captain. And if he moves to Hajduk Split and he ends up not playing for them often and he's just on the subs bench, I'm happy to hold on to him for the long term. If he moves there and he ends up starting for them, then he will deliver some great scores because I would expect his scoring then to go to the next level with a far bigger, stronger team. So these are our midfielders that we have that we're going to be running in Cap 240 and Cap 220. And we hope that the likes of Cameron McGeehan, Jamie Jacobs, Robin Malone, they can all join a club that's then going to be covered in Sorare. And that will then give us more options for next season as well, especially Molon, because I have Molon fully maxed out. I can't give him any more XP. He's already at level 20. And he's such a good player that had a really bad season for Canberra because he just basically didn't play through injury. But if he can move to another club, maybe like a club in the League 2, like the French League 2, that would be amazing. So we're waiting to see what happens. Worst case scenario is that we can play Thalhammer and we can play Lyndon Zalahi, as our main midfielders until the situations get a bit more certain with the other guys. So those are our midfielders for our Cap 240, Cap 220 rare rebuild for next season. So we're good to go there. We don't need to bring in anyone else. I think having 7 midfielders and 7 defenders is honestly more than enough, given that we are literally only going to be running with 2 teams in the rare. We're going to be running with a Cap 220 with a limited goalkeeper. And then we're going to be running with a Cap 240 with a rare goalkeeper, right? So 2 rare teams. We can potentially put out a 3rd rare team, but by doing that, it means that we'd have to do it with a DNP goalkeeper. And so, it's kind of like a bit of a waste on the other players, the outfield players, because realistically, we won't really be able to hit a card award with a DNP goalkeeper. So our main 2 teams we're focusing on are Cap 220, where we can play a starting limited goalkeeper, and then Cap 240 rare, where we can play with a starting goalkeeper of Ali Varul, most likely. And then it means that we have good chances to hit rewards in 2 solid rare teams. Our forwards, we've got 5 forwards. We don't need any more. So I'm happy with my forwards right now. I think, again, 5 forwards is more than enough. We have some good players here who are starters as well. And we've got players that can be rotated between Cap 220 and Cap 240. So we have Anthony Ujar, who is the main forward for Braunschweig. We've got Ashley Barnes, who's the main forward for Norwich now. He joined from Burnley over the summer. We've got Matty Godin, who's the main forward for Coventry. And we've got Antti Erseg, who's the main forward for Istra. We also have Robert Saldrikis that we already had. So we didn't go out and buy Robert Saldrikis this summer. I've had him for a while now. I actually paid a lot of money for him. Far too much really for him before the big price crash in Sorare. So we're kind of stuck with Aldrikis now. Otherwise, we have to realise a massive loss on his card. And he's actually playing for Canberra that got relegated. And as far as I know, there's been no clubs that have come in for him. And he has a long-term contract with them anyway. So we're not going to get any coverage from Robert Saldrikis as it stands next season. So we're only realistically going to have 4 forwards of Erseg, Godin, Barnes, and Anthony Ujar that can actually score points for us next season. But we've got some really solid options here, especially Ashley Barnes and Matty Godin. I mean, Ujar and Erseg are great too, but when you look at the price points that I paid for Ujar and Erseg, I did pick them up quite cheap. So £36 is great, £36 for Ujar is great, but if you look at Ashley Barnes here, we picked up Ashley Barnes for £30, and look what's happened to his price. His price has just shot up. So he's now selling for like £60, and he is the replacement for Timo Pukki at Norwich. So he's going to be leading the line for Norwich. And they're a good team, Norwich. He's a great player, Ashley Barnes. He should be able to thrive in that new team. To the real. So I'm really happy that we picked him up for less than £30. I'm very, very happy as well that we picked up Matty Godin for like £13.85. That was just ridiculous, really. Look. His floor price is 36. He's selling for about £30 right now. We picked him up for £14. £14. So you can't get any better than that, really. we're probably going to be playing Matty Godin in our Cap 220 rare team rather than the rare team. The Cap 240. So I'm thinking that our main forward in Cap 240 will be Anthony Ujar and Antti Erseg. And then for Cap 220, we will rotate between Ashley Bonds and Matty Godin. So we're back again tonight in a few hours at 8 p.m. UK time. If you have time, then please come and jump in. You'll be very welcome to check out this series, especially if you've not seen it before. And we'll also be back again on the day on Sunday. So we'll be doing a dedicated stream on Sunday to just discuss and also break down the changes and the updates which are coming that were announced yesterday. We're going to do a bit more of a dedicated stream for that on Sunday. So make sure you tune in on Sunday as well if you can't tune in later on tonight. Thank you so much, guys, and I will catch you in a couple of hours' time.